this summer I went to New Mexico for a cultural resource management project, kind of excavation, not really, because we didn't take anything or dig anything, but we saw things. So this is me with a low squat, no hat, not a good example here. But we weren't allowed to take a lot of photos on site or any maps of the site, so that won't be included. But some details. Finding the program, it is on the IFR website. It's listed as a Guyena field school, but because of rerouting and new project incentives, it was Guyena time period, but not Guyena focused, which is an ancestral Puebloan offshoot in New Mexico. But Dr. Campbell was extremely helpful in finding this entire endeavor. He's friends with Louis Morgan, actually came out to visit, and we all went on a hike, which was very fun. Yeah, this is the whole group. It was 11 students, 2 TFs who were both graduate students, and the importance of CRM, if you don't already know it, but in the context of this project, is that it's really important to have a cooperative experience when going into a field school with the community and the living ancestors of the people that you are interacting with the material of. And I think it did a really good job of questioning like how and why we are retelling certain narratives. Is it our job to do so, and who we should be talking to when doing that? Because as archaeologists, we're making interpretations all the time, but who is here and living and wants to contribute and has a lot more to say than we do? So we got to meet, and who came out on excavation with us was Gibson, which was one of the Apache-Jicarilla medicine men, and a little dog named Tricky that came everywhere, which was interesting because it was like the theme song, like, it's tricky. And one contract archaeologist within the Apache-Jicarilla as well. So day to day, depending on your chore group, you either woke up and you set up lunch, breakfast, prep stuff for everyone. But most of the time, if you're lucky, you get a 5:45 cool wake up. We're also camping this entire time, keep in mind. That will come soon. But so we have access to this kind of like, it's a house, but it's not really a house. No one's living there. There's 2 bathrooms and there is a kitchen and electricity, but no one's actually staying in the house. So everyone's camping outside. You're not allowed to hang out in the house, but you're doing things in the house. So it's kind of like a fine line. You're like, can I get the AC? No, get outside. So it's interesting. Then 7 a.m. we load the cars, get on our way to the site, which is about an hour and a half drive away. But it's beautiful. It's New Mexico. You're looking out the window, you're playing good music, or you're waking up, or you're going back to sleep. Like 8 to 2, you're working on the site. Really hot, again, hydrating, all the good stuff. A sandwich for lunch. We're not living lavish. Really low bar. And then lecture and lab, but we didn't always have a lab or a lecture. Sometimes it was just like, we recognize that you're really tired and you just need some downtime, which was really thoughtful and amazing. And dinner, wind down by 9, campus silent. It was a long day though, so like, what are you doing past 9? Then the week breakdown. It was a 4-week program. First week containing of the history of the land that we're on, the parameters of our work, talking to people part of the Apache-Jicarilla tribe, and then week 2 is identifying pottery sherds in transect survey. So that's why I included this little photo here. Like this, like just 10 meters, like it's it's tough, but you're training your eye to do something that's really essential and critical for archaeology in a non-invasive sense too. So now I'm always like walking down Com Ave and I'm like, what do I see? Week 3 was identifying the large groups of artifacts which we consider features. So that would be just largest consolidation in like a meter radius, which was interesting because the site itself was situated on top of kind of like this little hill, and it was on private res land, which used to be cattle land, but so kind of this hill and there's fence that goes on the top of the elevation. So a lot of the erosional debris was like at the bottom, so you found a lot of the sherds and lithics kind of down by the bottom, but you don't really know like how to interpret or classify that other than erosional drift. And then week 4, we worked on our media storytelling projects, but I was a teaching assistant at this project, so I did not do that, and I did so many feature forms, like around 28, so that was great. That was helpful. And then most of the pottery conclusively was Rosa Greyware, so that's 700 to 980. But keep in mind also, all pottery analysis was done on site, so like in the sun, just like we had the manual and we were just breaking it and like trying to see what kind of, like how fine the grain is and all that fun stuff. The living conditions, tent life. My tent was the orange one. I was down by the bottom of the slope. I came a little late, didn't get the best place to set up. There was a lot of like perpetual dust or like sand, which was, it made the showers kind of pointless, but when I got back to Boston, I was thrilled. So that was nice. And then we did have, so this is the home that's not a home. It was a small kind of unit of a man who worked at the Forest Service for a really long time. He also came and talked to us about the importance of Forest Service work, which was pretty cool. And there was a really big elk, as you can see in the background of this picture, just mounted on the wall, which was kind of scary because I don't know, I always thought I was going to run into it. And then the nearest town was about a 15-minute drive away. 3 people brought cars, which was super helpful for weekend trips, just going to do your laundry and if you wanted to run to the dollar store. But for the most part, you always have to leave camp in pairs of 2. So it felt very camp-esque. And then time off, some things that we got up to was a Santa Fe day trip, which was extremely interesting. Going to the Apache Reservoir to swim. Some people went to Durango for the weekend. We went on a really long and bumpy ride to see some rock art pictured at the bottom right. And then D&D. Who knew what an amazing bonding activity D&D would, I mean, maybe many people know this. I was not one of them until this project, but I was really immersed in the whole gameplay aspect. It felt very mock trial, but creative. And yeah, it was incredible. Thank you. This is also the best meal I had because it has to be pictured. Thank you. Any questions?
I have a very serious academic question.
Yeah.
What was your D&D character?
Okay, so I was an aura of someone's like kind of ogre. Yeah, so I was kind of the moral, righteous
Ogre.
aura of the ogre.
Or ogre.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Took my question. But I was curious if this experience kind of altered how you view archaeology since you were doing it in a low impact way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that Firstly, I understood I think on a really basic level, the pleasure of physically doing work and like working with my hands and not just being in a classroom setting, because I think that I didn't understand how valuable that would be for my attention and my attentiveness to the work in that sense. And in a low impact way, I think it's hard because I haven't had excavation experience. So I don't know what that would be like in contrast, but I do think that being able to talk to and openly about the project at hand and the flaws even in the project that we're running, and having like more of a discussion-based understanding of like who we're working with specifically, and being able to have that conversation made it feel really comfortable to be doing what I was doing, and I really appreciate that aspect.
Were there tuition costs since it's like technically a field school?
So I didn't pay tuition for IFR because I also didn't get any credit. I was working on a TA
Gotcha.
standpoint, and the actual field school is around 3,900 ballpark. I did look it up. It's like right under 4,000. And then I received funding from BU Archaeology Department for flight tickets, and I had to buy camping gear because I might look outdoorsy, but it's deceiving.